Let's all thank the wonderful patrons for supporting the channel. I can't show everything from the visual novel, so if you support me in Patreon, you will be able to watch everything from the old to the naughty. Also, don't forget to ring that bell when you subscribe so you'll be notified with future videos. Now, let's start the show!
Hello everybody! My name's UkeKooki and welcome back for more Temptations Ballad! Let's not waste any more time because I know you're ready and waiting for the next part of this chapter. So here we go! Let's play Temptations Ballad! Alright, let's get back on track. The first round of the Firefly Festival jousting tournament is about to begin. Are our honorable participants ready? The crowd's cheers shook the stadium as everyone looked in anticipation. Artemi shuffled in place and gripped her jousting lance tightly. On the other side of the field, Calder O'Shaughnessy rode into position on top of a handsomely pampered feral horse. The steed looked in excellent health and was clearly expensively cared for, typical of what one might expect from a noble. Despite his bruised face and slightly bleeding nose, Calder managed to look down on Artemi with an air of superiority. "What is the matter, my dear chosen one? It appears you are not in possession of a steed. How do you expect to joust without one? What? Do you intend to run at me like some beast of burden? If you're in need of a horse, just ask. I'm sure the generosity of House of O'Shaughnessy will be happy to accommodate you." Artemi adjusted the handle of her lance coldly. I respectfully decline. Need I remind you that I am a paladin? Perhaps it is best that you worry after yourself as you always do. Calder scoffed and steered his feral horse into position. Suit yourself. I look forward to the praise grandfather will grant me once I best the courageous chosen in a joust. Artemi silently made a mental note to apologize to Cole for any grief she had given him for his vices. Apparently, there's someone worse than Cole. Good to know. She had no idea that there exists someone far worse. Cole appeared like an absolute paragon in comparison. She was going to take great pleasure in knocking Calder off his high horse. Artemi turned towards Sid's direction with her lance held high. I dedicate this match to my dear friend, Sid Shrikewood. May this set an example to all who dares insult my companion in arms. From the viewing booth, Sid fidgeted nervously as he watched the very horseless knight proclaim loud to the crowd. You're like, you don't have to tell them. Thanks, Artie, but maybe we shouldn't count our chickens before they hatch. The shrill voice of the festival announcer suddenly pierced the stadium air once more. Whoa! Get into position! Now, may the joust begin! Calder's horse immediately dashed forward and made a mad gallop towards Artemi, lance pointing forward. Oh, what is she gonna do? Artemi was unfazed. The crowds watched in utter confusion as she crouched down on the grass like a predator posed to strike. What in the world are you doing? Ah, well, whatever, I suppose. I will be happy to take this easy win. Artemi smirked. Suddenly, she launched herself forward, arms outstretched. She's gonna run towards him. Lightning danced from the palm of her hand like long, furious rains. Oh my God! She created her own steed. She created her own steed with magic! Oh God! Call steed! The metallic smell of ozone filled the air. The brilliant blaze of lightning hurt to look at as Artemi and her steed rushed forward, lance at the ready. Grass singed and burned below them. Showers of sparks glinted off her armor, as she flew toward Calder at light speed. Wait! I yield! What? I can't hear you. It's too bright in here. Moments before the two horses collided, the arena was consumed in a burst of blinding celestial light. Everyone in the audience shielded their eyes like, ah! No one could see what was happening. Shield your eyes! After a beat, the light slowly faded away to reveal what remained of the joust. Calder was curled up in a fetal position in the grass, his horse fleeing the scene in a terrified sprint. Artemi's celestial steed had disappeared as well. She stood over Calder's prone body, gingerly poking him with her lance, like one might poke roadkill as if it was still alive. Come on, stop overreacting. It wasn't that bad. I almost died! Surely this has to be against the rules. This was attempted murder! You leapt off your horse and began sobbing on the ground before I could even reach you. Where is your competitive spirit? I came here to joust in a tournament, not to babysit frightened children. Come on, get back on your steed. We're doing this again. The festival announcer's bewildered voice sounded across the arena. Well, in accordance with the rules, Sir Calder had proclaimed his surrender after yielding to you. Wait! Nobody said anything about summoning your own steed in this competition. Surely the chosen disqualified on that alone. Maev Osmania quietly cleared her throat. There are currently no rules pertaining to what type of horse participants may ride in the jousting tournament. Despite its celestial and summoned nature, Lady Artemi's steed was still a horse and still falls with the tournament's parameters. This is an outrage! You tried to kill me! You should learn to take defeat with grace. This is a jousting tournament. Having lances pointed your way should be expected. Artemi turned towards Sid. Sid's viewing booth with a grin. Did you see that, Sir Sid? Your honor has been avenged. Sid scratched his head and he looked at Calder prone and sobbing in the burnt grass floor. He was hit by a lute, and now he's scared of the freaking chosen one. I mean, the guy was an a-hole, but I think you guys broke him. Artemi waved her lance in the air and laughed with glee. I never expected this tournament to be such fun. It feels nice to finally let loose for once. Dear announcer, who will I face off against next? The sound of furiously rustling parchment. And then parchment diverse whispers filled the air. After a beat, the festival announcer faced the audience with a hint of despair. About that... Don't tell me it's only the two of them. Artemi blinked. Is something the matter? All of the other joust participants had just surrendered their spots in the tournament. After seeing that, they surrendered. They're like, I yield. No, I won't do that with the... All hail to you, glorified golden retriever. She's a maniac on the floor. And she dancing like they never danced before. That means our winner will automatically go to you, Artemi Johanna Gautier. No one clapped through the sea of confused looks. Huh? Maybe this is just Shirokoi's way of saying, I am too lazy to make more CG, or I am so tired to make more CG for this scene, so I will just let her win by default. Artemi gave up at the viewing tower with dismay. Huh? What? Just like that? What about the competition? We are here to joust, are we not? The festival announcer cleared his throat nervously. I don't know how else to break it to you, but nobody here wants to face off against the creator's chosen and her giant lightning horse. Is that horse called Lightning McQueen? Ka-chow! Disappointment and bewilderment spread across Artemi's face as she looked around the area. Wait! Did I ruin the tournament? Sorry if I got carried away. I didn't mean to. Yes! Yes, you did! Why can't you people ever stick to the schedule? First the king and queen had to effing die, and then nobody wanted to take the darn organizer job. And then this uncultured druid just waltzes in to replace my boss. And then you folks just had to host a duel, and then summon a giant glowing horse, didn't you? I don't get paid nearly enough for... She's listening. Mayos is just listening there. The announcer just called her an uncultured druid. Right in front of her. Where she could hear the sponsor and the organizer of the said event is being roasted by the announcer. But apparently, he blurted out so many bad things. There was a pause and a brief scuffle up at the viewing towers. After a beat, Lady Osmia poked her head out towards the crowd. This concludes the Firefly Festival Jousting Tournament. Thank you to all who participated. Please remain patient while we set up the Brawling Tournament. It should take but a moment. Well, that was sad. Artemi returned to their viewing booth to find it utterly empty. Her post-jousting excitement popped like a balloon and she glanced over for her friends. Where did Sir Sid and Cole go? I hope they managed to watch my jousting match, despite how quick it was. Oh, there you are! Welcome back! What a thrill you were in the arena. That was worth the price of tickets alone. Artemi perked up to see Agatha beaming at her from the back of the booth. The old bat clapped her hands with giddy laugh. So, that is the power of the Creator's Chosen. Truly impressive. Thank you, ma'am. You flatter me. Have you seen my friends anywhere? Your friends? The Bonebreaker boy snuck off before your joust began. And the Buff Badger ran off towards the western wing to prepare for his brawling match. Artemi's shoulders sagged. Aww. They both left without a word. Of course Cole would leave before even watching my joust. Well, I hope Sir Sid is feeling better at the very least. He can rest assured that the Calder fellow will bother him no longer. Agatha wiped her glasses with a sympathetic frown. Well, I can't fault the O'Shaughnessy boy too much. He's the perfect product of the nobility's obsession with status and power. House O'Shaughnessy built their entire relevance off of the strength of the family bloodline. There are rumors that they were willing to put their children through risky experiments to increase their magical potential. Alas, all of Gaius O'Shaughnessy's children are gone now. All that's left is Calder, his sole grandchild, and the boy's magical strength is mediocre at best. I can't imagine the pressure he's under. Agatha sighed and shook her head wearily. Children should not be made and used for the selfish wants of their parents. Artemi bit her lip thoughtfully. I suppose I can sympathize with this situation. However, none of this excuses his cruel actions towards my friends. Our decisions are wholly our own, and we must take responsibility for them. Spoken like a true knight of the church. However, you must concede that the way a person is raised would undoubtedly affect their values and decisions. Agatha's eyes narrowed. You would know this personally, wouldn't you? Huh? Just an observation, dear. If you would forgive my secular mindset, I've never put much stock in this whole chosen one hubbub. Artemi fidgeted uncomfortably under the bat's steely gaze. There is a large section of the scientific community who believe that the Creator's Chosen is a naturally occurring phenomenon. I personally theorize that it is a property of how celestial energy reacts to living organisms. Of course, the church is quick to brush off our research, but it is a sentiment shared by many. If we take this so-called creator out of the equation, I can't help thinking as I look upon you, dear chosen one. Agatha's glasses twinkled with a fascinated grin. All that raw celestial energy, how might it be harnessed? And has it ever been wrongfully manipulated in the past? Artemi felt an uncomfortable lump grow in her throat. She frowned at the arcanist as she struggled to swallow it back down. I respect our difference in viewpoint, ma'am. However, I have faith that the Creator has a plan for us yet. She would not bestow her blessing upon those who are not fit to wield it. I see. Then I hope for your sake that you are correct. Their conversation was interrupted by a small knock on the side of the booth. A little servant popped their head in and saluted nervously at Artemi. Hello? Sorry to interrupt, Lady Gautier, but I bring a message for you. Lady Osmia would like to speak with you regarding your boon. The boon you won from the jousting tournament. Lady Osmia bids you to meet her in the Eastern Reading Tower at your earliest convenience. I see. I will go at once. She turned towards Agatha with a small bow. I must be off. Apologies for the sudden departure. Nay! Thank you for humoring this old woman's thoughts. I look forward to witnessing your future endeavors. Artemi Gautier. Goodbye. Whew, this is interesting. Artemi made her way up to the viewing tower with the shaky steps. This will be her first time speaking to a noble. Calder doesn't count. All of Cole's warnings about her importance and mannerisms came flooding back to her. She hoped to the heavens that she did not mess this up. Once glance into the tower revealed a mostly empty viewing area, much to her relief. Maybe most of the nobles were on a lunch break or something? Ah, I see you have arrived. Greetings, my lady. I am at your service. Artemi attended a clumsy curtsy that resulted in an uncomfortable metal clank over armor. She quickly opted to get a nervous bow instead. It is an honor to be in your company, Lady Osmia. The noblewoman waved her hand dismissively. No need to be so formal. I was raised in a much more mundane lifestyle than most city nobles. Yes, so please, call me Maiev. Though her expression was unreadable behind her veil, Maev's eyes softened with an amused smile. There is no need to look so nervous. One would think I've just sentenced you to a horrible fate. Apologies, I've just never spoken to a noble like you before, my lady. And I have yet the honor to speak with the Creator's Chosen herself. It is wonderful to finally meet you, Lady Gautier. Huh? Artemis felt her blood pressure spike as Lady Osmia bowed deeply towards her. She had never been on the receiving end of this before. Her mind completely blank as she struggled to find a response. But please, there is no need to be so formal. I am undeserving of such regard. Lady Osmia chuckled. Artemi felt strangely self-conscious in her presence. My, you are as humble as they say. This is a breath of fresh air after my dealings with all the self-important city nobles. I am glad you're the one to win the jousting tournament instead of that abrasive O'Shaughnessy fellow. As the victor, House Osmia will be happy to grant you whatever boon you desire. Now tell me, friend, what do you wish? Artemi paused, scratching her head as she pondered. Honestly, she had completely forgotten about the boon in all the chaos. Was there anything she particularly desired? What does she desire? Does she have the fifth book of this series that I'm reading? Do you have it? No, it's best to use this boon to help her current mission. All personal wishes would have to come second. I suppose I would like to request House Osmia's aid with my current task as a church knight. My mission is to help locate for missing rubies for Prince Cassius. These jewels are incredibly valuable and must be found as soon as possible. House Osmia must have a wide network of allies both within the city and the exterior, yes? Your help will greatly increase our chances of success. Lady Osmia's eyes narrowed, her veil ruffling with a tiny scoff. House Osmia's allies within the city walls are usually less than eager to aid us. But I will do my best. Your 4 missing rubies, you say? Her eyes scanned over Artemi with a familiar, appraising manner. I had imagined the Kratos chosen as someone who actively labors to aid a person under her care. To hear that she is instead a lapdog fetching the prince's missing jewelry. Well, forgive my frankness, but I find myself slightly disappointed. You are mistaken, my lady, Artemi fidgeted nervously. We believe those rubies are likely arcane and dangerous in the wrong hands. In fact, we have run into one such villain who succeeded in stealing 2 of them. As a church knight, it is my duty to ensure these rubies are safely returned to their rightful place. The noble's ears twitched. She scratched her chin thoughtfully. Arcane and dangerous, you say? Why would the royal family need such crystals? Exactly. Why would they need it? Why would they need it? Very well. You can rest assured that House Osmia will do our utmost to aid your cause. Lady Osmia felt quiet for several moments. In the meantime, might I ask you for a small favor of my own? I happen to be working on a little mission of my own. Our interests may align and a future partnership may be mutually beneficial, Really? What is the nature of your mission? The noble let out a deep breath. House Osmia's aim in hosting the Firefly Festival is twofold. First is to establish allies within the city walls. Unfortunately, the vast majority of the Axian nobles view us as druid savages from the exterior. Conducting business within the city has been more difficult than it should be. Secondly, we aim to investigate the origins of this fainting phenomenon that has been appearing within the city. Artemi blinked. The fainting phenomenon? I've heard Coles and So Wes mumble about it in passing. Maiev nodded, her eyes narrowed to deadly slits. I have a personal interest in this case. This situation is most peculiar. Masses of people passing out on the streets as though they have been drained of life. It sounds eerily similar to the victims of the locust famine from a decade ago, though to a much less fatal degree. I believe that this fainting phenomenon may be connected to the tragedy that wiped out my family so many years ago. Or better yet, these 2 incidents may share the same perpetrator. Artemi's brow furrowed as she pondered to the noblewoman's words. I don't understand. I thought the locust famine was a natural disaster of sorts. Maev's face veiled flattered as she let out a deep, frustrated sigh. Did the church tell you that? Contrary to popular belief, the druids of the exterior are not so defenseless against nature's wrath. Our people have lived in harmony with the land and refined traditions to protect ourselves against such natural disasters. But the locust famine was no natural disaster. It was a man-made scheme, no matter how hard the city tries to deny it. Locusts do not suddenly become magic resistant and drain the life out of able-bodied druids under normal circumstances. There is someone behind this atrocity, and I will bring them to justice. Maev's voice shook with cold, unconcealed rage. It was a little intimidating, but Artemi could not help but feel moved by this young noble's passion. She gulped and looked. Your dedication to justice is most admirable, Lady Osmia. I would be honored to aid you on your quest. Are there any suspects you have in mind that I should be wary of? Maev's eyes narrowed. I'm glad you asked. Forgive my wild speculation, but the following are my honest thoughts on the matter. Did you know that Queen Tabitha has been ill for the majority of her reign? It was so severe that many believed she should have perished a decade ago. Strangely, immediately after the famine where scores of my countrymen fell to life-draining locusts, the royal family happily announced that the queen's diseases had gone into remission. I was still a child at the time and thought little of it, but looking back, the timing is most curious. Artemi felt her stomach drop. You cannot mean to accuse the royal family of mass murder, do you? This must be some sort of coincidence. I accuse nothing. My life's mission is to find the source of the locust famine and bring the perpetrators to justice. I owe my family that much. If it is revealed that my suspicions are incorrect, I will happily shift my focus elsewhere. But it will be irresponsible for me to brush aside promising leads simply because it may offend the monarchy. Maev's gaze hardened. Artemi had to fight the urge to take a step back, but the noble's intense glare. As a noble knight of justice, can I count on your support in this endeavor? Or is the Kratos chosen simply another meaningless title? Those words hit Artemi harder than she was willing to admit. She froze for a moment before bowing deeply. Of course not. It is my duty to defend my people against all evils of the world. Rest assured, Lady Osmia, that you have my full cooperation in your investigation. That is a relief to hear. You too will have House Osmia's full support in your search for the royal family's missing rubies. I suspect our missions will inevitably cross paths as we near our goals. I have this feeling that the late king used the crown to save his wife. He sold his soul to the demons. Maybe that's why. The noble bowed her head. Thank you for lending your ear, Lady Gautier. You are dismissed. Artemi nodded before quickly dismissing herself and made her way back to her viewing booth. Her mind was racing as she anxiously pondered what in the world she had just gotten herself into. Oh, here we go. It's Sid's turn. Oh my gosh, it's the Orca. The western wing of the sporting arena was packed with about 100 or so brawlers readying themselves for the tournament. Rainier impatiently shoved his way through the crowd of soon-to-be opponents while munching down on a basket of cheesy bread. Where in the world was the effing badger? He better not have gotten cold feet. Pirates will collect their dues one way or the other. Not that he was a pirate or anything. I mean, his precious Irontail wasn't on his security vessel. Rainier growled and took another massive chomp of his cheesy bread. F this! This short is so good! He made a mental note to track down the cheesemaker and buy an entire bulk of this for their next sailing trip. Of course, he'd have to buy all that beer and rum that his crew demanded and... I need to get all my money back first! Where the hell is that little loafer? If he ran off, I'm going to grill his craven butt over her. The Orca pirate rounded a corner and froze. Well, he found the guy he was looking for. Rainier didn't expect to find him sobbing quietly on the ground while polishing his halberd blade with wax, though. Wait, sobbing? Like, is he crying while polishing the halberd? The sight of his hulking badger softly sniffling while wielding a weapon big enough to decapitate several men was comical, to say the least. The hell are you crying about? Huh? It's you. The hell happened? You look like someone dumped your favorite goldfish down the privy or something. Some stuff happened a little while ago. The badger adjusted his glasses in a poor attempt to hide his tears. Sorry, I'm just feeling kinda silly right now. Whatever it is, you better pull yourself together. I can't trust some sniffling guppy to watch my back in a fight. What? Did that foppish double brat say mean things to you or something? Rainier watched Sid with a scowl. The boy didn't even look up at him as he continued waxing his blade. He kinda dug through my brain with magic and spilled all my deepest petty doubts to my friends. It's not a great feeling. Sid sighed and curled up on the grass. It's a miracle they didn't just leave me, and Artemi just single-handedly crushed the jousting tournament. Why do they even keep me around? Maybe I should just quit while I'm ahead. Oh! Rainier immediately smacked him across the head with his bread basket. Sid yelled as steaming hot cheese ran down his face and stung out his eyes. What kind of shorty attitude is that? Your crew stuck their necks out for you, and this is how you repay them? Rainier fumed furiously as he watched the badger struggle to wipe the dripping cheese from his eyes. The cheese! Cheese tears! Cheers! The remainder of his bread was scattered across the grassy field, already attracting an army of ants. They're like, the cheese, man! Oops. What a waste. He made a mental note to add cheesy bread onto the lad's growing list of debts. Well, they don't really need me at this point. Artemi can probably handle whatever we... Tomox! No, you dumbass! When I go recruiting folks for my ship, you think I go, oh, we've already got a decent deckhand. We're good. Of fucking course not! It takes more than one man to sail a ship. Everyone's got a job to fill. Sure, one of them up occasionally, and the others gotta put in extra elbow grease. But that's all part of being a crew, ain't it? Today you, tomorrow me, as my master used to say. But... Sid opened his mouth to retort, but was met with a fistful of floor bread shoved down his throat. No buts! Get your sorry head out of your horse and whip yourself in gear! People are gonna need you to play your part when the time comes. Like me. 'Cause you owe me a handsome load of money, and you're gonna have to carry your own weight in this damn brawl. Sid struggled to chew down his muzzle full of bread before letting out a quiet sigh. He retracted his halberd, shrinking it down with a sharp metallic tink. Rainier eyed the weapon with surprise, but said nothing. This kid's got potential, but he looked like a mess right now. Rainier's voice dipped low as he clapped a hand on the badger's shoulder. No sailor can see the horizon from within a squall, but it's always there for those who keep sailing forward. Unless a goddess named Eris suddenly took the Book of Peace, and you have no choice but to sail towards Tartarus to get it back. Unless you have to sail your ship and try to save a guy named Captain Jack Sparrow. I think you could use some time outside of your head, yeah? Ain't healthy to be marinating in dumb thoughts all day. He glanced at the festival viewing tower. I reckon we've still got time before the brawl begins. Why don't you go around and chat with some of the competition? Or what, you're back here with your head clear and ready for a fight, boy? I'll try. The boy gave him an non-committal nod before quietly staggering away. Rainier watches retreating back with a huff. Ooh. Jeez, it's like looking back in an old mirror. He sighed and scratched his head. Though, to be fair, I'm pretty sure I was twice as mopey at his age. Master Ingrid must have had the patience of a saint to put up with me. Rainier gripped. I found this perfect voice. Perfect for a pirate orca. Rainier gripped the hilt of his twin short swords with an air of bittersweet nostalgia. Still, I'm kinda glad for the chance to uphold the tradition of hoisting sad straits back onto their feet. Wolfie, you're here! Sid absent-mindedly strolled through the crowd of brawlers with eyes still sore and raw. His soon-to-be opponents appeared at his sniffling face like a pack of predators inspecting their prey. Sid gulped and clutched the shrunken handle of the Lanius anxiously. Did Rainier really expect the two of them to take on this many fighters? There had to be over 100 of them. Maybe this wasn't the best place to clear his head.
Ah, good. You are here.
Aha! My little big daddy. Alligator daddy.
Sid jumped with a start. Val's hulking figure was suddenly behind him. The crocodile gave him an appraising look.
You are participating in the brawl as well, yes?
Hey Val! Yeah, I kinda owe this pirate money and got dragged in the tournament. Val's eyebrow perked in surprise.
Strange. I thought you were planning to attend the brawl of your own volition.
Sid's shoulders slumped. Well, yeah, I did. At first. But the stuff came up. It's complicated. Val switched him with a hint of disappointment.
Pity. When we fought in the fighting ring, there was this feral air about you. I saw a fellow warrior who reveled in the raw thrill of battle, unchained by obligation or restraint. I was looking forward to facing him in battle once more.
Sid frowned defensively. Well, I'm still gonna fight.
A warrior with no drive is no warrior at all. I have no interest in fighting a lad being dragged about by the likes of Collode Bonebreaker.
A wave of irritation washed over Sid as he glared. Cole is a good man, boy, whatever he is. I get that you've got beef with him, and he can be a bit of a butt sometimes, but he's still a good-hearted guy who looks out for people. I'm happy to fight for him. He glared at Val heatedly. The crocodile eyed his little outburst with a hint of intrigue.
Interesting. If you fight in the brawl with the same ferocity, you may yet be a worthwhile opponent. Good day to you.
The crocodile bowed his head slightly before retreating in the crowd. Sid exhaled sharply and rubbed his sore eyes. He didn't mean to snap like that. You need the confidence, boy! But the thought of someone talking down to Cole right after the hyena provoked a public duel in his defense, it made his blood boil slightly. Sid took a deep breath and sighed. It's a shame Cole wouldn't be here to watch his brawl. He wondered where the little guy went at a time like this. Sid? Sid's ears perked up at the familiar voice. Huh? Clyde! Sure enough, the grinning tiger. Whoa! My boy! The grinning tiger was waving furiously at him from behind the audience fence. Pleasantly surprised, Sid scurried over to his blacksmith friend. What are you doing here? I thought you were busy looking after the shop. Clyde grinned about breathless panting, as though he ran to the festival on short notice. I'm surprised too. I was in the middle of my shift when old man Soul showed up out of the blue. He rambled on about how youngins should be enjoying the festivities instead of cooped up in a dusty shop. So, here I am. Jeez, you sure he's okay? That's pretty quick heart attack recovery. Clyde shrugged. I tried arguing, but he wasn't having it. Not that I'm complaining though. I'm glad I get the chance to see my baby in action. What? He's talking about the halberd, dude! He's not talking about you, Sid! But could you imagine that he's calling you baby? Oh no, Cookie, your kindness is showing for Clyde! Oh, you meant the Lanius. The tiger winked. I don't know. No! Stop! Stop! You're making me blush! Stop it, Clyde, stop it! I don't know. You can be my baby too if you want. Dolphin noises. In all seriousness, though, nobody has ever used the lanius in a real battle before. I'm glad I'm here to witness it. Clyde glanced around the viewing booths curiously. By the way, where's Cole? Huh? He left a little while ago. Said he had some important business to take care of. Cloud's shoulders slumped. Oh, he really wants to see him after what happened. Oh, I love Clyde so much. I don't know. I feel so bad. Oh, that's a shame. Despite our differences, I figured he'd want to see this too. A bittersweet smile fell across the tiger's face as he stared at the lanius's shining handle. Sid's chest fluttered with sympathy. This was the weapon that cost Clyde his lifelong dream, and yet it was still his pride and joy. Sid couldn't believe he even thought about quitting the tournament. He clutched the weapon with renewed vigor. Hey, he's blushing. Hey, look on the bright side. This will be a good chance to show off your weapon to the entire Firefly Festival. The crowds are filled with nobles and craftsmen. Maybe we'll catch their eye and you'll have a chance to kickstart your blacksmithing career again. Clyde sighed skeptically. I love the lanius, but do you really think people will notice it in this massive brawl of over 100 fighters? Let's be realistic here. I'm just happy to see my life's work being used by a capable wielder. That's all I can hope. That's all I can hope for, really. Clyde smiled. Still, this has been a fulfilling experience for my little blacksmithing heart. Thanks for convincing me to train you the other day. I appreciate it. Sid blinked in confusion. Huh? But you're the one who offered to train me. You even ran out in the streets after us, remember? Clyde stared at him strangely. What are you talking about? You're the one who came back to my shop yesterday to ask for lessons. You feeling alright? But... Sid frowned, his head swimming with bewildered thoughts. If that wasn't Clyde yesterday, then who? He froze, his mind slowly putting two and two together. There was only one person who cared deeply enough about the situation. He knew that this guy's self-spell. He glanced up at Clyde with a dawning realization. Hey, Clyde? What time did Old Man Soul show up to take your shift at the shop? It was about an hour ago. I think it was a little before the jousting tournament. Shame. I missed it. That was all the confirmation Sid needed. Cole, you sneaky little... The little hyena had wanted Clyde to teach Sid how to correctly wield the lanius. And he wanted Clyde to show up during the tournament when his masterwork weapon will be put to use. The bardic inspiration in Sid's chest flared with furious rhythmic warmth. Cole had trusted Sid to perform well in the brawl to help reignite his best friend's career. The career that Cole had ruined. To place this amount of trust on somebody like him? Sid suddenly grabbed Clyde by his shoulder with a deadly serious look. Clyde, we're going to get your blacksmithing dream back on track today. Just you watch. Everyone will see the true power in your masterwork weapon. I promise you. Clyde looked taken aback. I appreciate the thought, buddy. But you don't have to take on so much. Sid shook his head furiously. This isn't just for you. This fight is for me, and everyone who has ever put their trust in me. I refuse to let anyone down today. Sid gave Clyde one last steadfast nod before hurrying back towards the brawler's ring. Just give him a kiss! Give him a kiss, fool! Sid returned to the spot where Rainier was waiting for him with renewed vigor. The not pirate caught sight of him and grinned, flashing his sharp teeth. Now there's some fire in your eyes. I take it you're ready for the brawl. Sid cracked his knuckles with a glare. Of course! We're winning this thing. No exceptions. There's more than gold on the line today. Rainier laughed heartily. Finally! This is the face of someone I can trust with my back on the battlefield. Keep that spark alive, lad. Yet, you're gonna need it. It's not yet. You're gonna need it. The orca stood up. Yep, it's your. Because the R is next to the T. The orca stood up and holstered his swords. So how was your little stroll? Did you see any competition that might be a problem? Sid paused for a moment. Honestly, I think we can handle most of them. There's only 2 of us, so the biggest thing we need to worry about is getting surrounded and outnumbered. Other than that, he jerked his head towards Val in the distance, who was deep in conversation with Clyde. That crocodile over there is an experienced brawler. He's going to be a tough one, even if we fight him together. Do you think you can take him? He was interrupted by Rainier letting out an appreciative whistle as he stared Val up and down. Is that a Lego? Or Lego? Oh, I can take him, alright. Oh, you mean in a fight? What? Don't look at me like that. I'm allowed to appreciate good-looking men. What that tiger is talking to ain't too bad either. Sheesh, and I thought Cole was bad. Oh wait, he's coming this way. The orca elbowed Sid and whispered furiously. Do you know if he's single? Listen, seduction is actually a solid battle strategy. Aha! Val approached the 2 of them with a small basket of steaming bread in his hands. Sid scratched his head. Where in the world is everyone getting all this cheesy bread? It seemed as though everyone was eating some at the festival. Oh yes, of course, cheesy bread, you know. Carbs before fighting. The crocodile eyed Rainier with suspicion before turning towards Sid. Oh, Val doesn't like suspicious seductions. Boy, I have come with a question. Where do your parents work? Sid blinked in surprise. Huh? We run an inn at the east end of the market district. It's called the Sparrow's Roost. I see. I had the good fortune of purchasing this incredible bread from your family's food stall earlier. I will have to come by for more later. Wait, my family's here? You mean that sweet old bird couple? Yeah, their food is delicious. They've been selling the cheesy bread at the other end of the arena since the festival started. They've been here the whole time? Wait, that's close to the viewing booth where I was sitting. Did they hear a little scuffle earlier? Oh god! Oh no! Sid scrambled through the crowd to peer across the arena in panic. Sure enough, he caught sight of his 2 tiny parents waving furiously at him from the opposite end of the field. From across the field, Ilya elbowed her husband as she continued to wave her wings wildly. Oh dear, I think he sees us! You're doing amazing, sweetie! Stay safe out there! Oh, look at our boy mingling with this big crowd! The little parakeet sniffled and wiped his eyes. He's coming a long way since his frog friend days, hasn't he? Ilya wrung her arms anxiously as she scanned the crowd in the brawling swing. Don't get in over your head, dear. Do you think Sid will be all right? There are so many tough-looking fighters this year. Oh, don't Oh, don't worry, sweetheart. I hear he's been doing a lot of trading under the buff hyena guy he likes. I'm sure he's learned a few tricks. I sure hope so. Ilya sighed, shoulders slumped. I suppose I'll have to support him from the sidelines on my own way. Oh boy, here we go. Where did that little noble mother effer run off to? He thinks he can just mess with my boy and get away with it, eh? I'm gonna end that little show's entire life bloodline! And he was supportively as his wife rampaged to the arena audience with pure bloodlust in her eyes. You get 'em, hun, while I'm here selling these cheesy breads. Wait! Somebody grab my mom and don't let her out of your sight! Did anyone see where that Calder guy went? Somebody's gonna get hurt! You mean that little bird lady? Who with the right mind would even think of hurting such a harmless old woman? Sid shook his head with panic. He had half the mind to rush out in the audience, but he didn't want to get disqualified. Oh, it's not my mom I'm worried about. He yelped as Rainier suddenly shoved him aside and eagerly shook Val's hand. Oh, who cares? Who cares about that? Anyway, the name's Rainier. Pleasure to meet you, mate. Any chance you'll be free after the brawl? He's blushing. I'd be happy to buy you a drink. I mean, right after you win that cash prize, because I don't got no money right now. Val looked at the orca strangely for a moment before a small smirk formed on his face. No. Val? Perhaps? Perhaps. I prefer spending my time with fellow men of strength. Oh my god. Like this lad, for instance. He nodded his head towards Sid. What? If you strike my interest on the battlefield, I'd be happy to get to know you better. The crocodile's massive hands squeezed back in their handshake, and it let out a small giddy squeak. He turned back to say with a determined grin, I will get him! Mate, we gotta win this brawl now! I want his ass! I'm counting on ya! Sid squinted. What is happening right now? Sex! He want it! Let me have this, okay? I've been stuck at sea for the last 3 weeks. Do you know what an empty bed does to a man? What? Are you jealous? Don't worry, lad. I'll buy you a drink too if you want. What? Sid started dumbfounded between Rainier's flirtatious wink, Val's approving nod, and Clyde waving enthusiastically at him in the distance. Oh my god. Sid, you freaking protagonist, you. Realization and slight horror slowly dawned across his face. Oh my god. Artemi was right. This is a harem. As though on cue, Artemi popped her head out from behind the brawling crowd just as the festival horns blew, signaling the start of the brawling tournament. A delighted smile spread across the knight's face as she leaped over the fence and heard Sid's side. So Sid, I'm glad I managed to catch you before the fight begins. A mixture of embarrassment and gratefulness fluttered across Sid's chest. Hey Artie, listen, sorry I've been kinda broody lately. Nonsense! There is nothing to apologize for. We are a team, and I will happily support you as you have me. Anyway, I'm here to give you my best wishes for your upcoming brawl. Sid stared blankly as Artemi raised an expectant fist. Why do you stare at me so? This is proper fist bump behavior, is it not? Oh, right! Sid couldn't help but smile as he gently bumped fists with the knight. She looked pleased with herself, her tail wagging furiously behind her. Excellent! You are now honored bound to perform great violence. Honored bound to make great violence! I pray your brawl will be a fruitful one. I don't think that's how a fist bump works, Artie. but thanks. I'll do my best.
This is gonna be
good. Brawling combatants gathered across the field. Nearly 100 fighters filled the arena, each sizing the other up hungrily. At a glance, it was obvious that some sort of allegiance had formed between the brawlers. Many of them were huddled together in small teams, while others gathered in groups as big as 30. So much for a free-for-all brawl. Sid shuffled nervously next to his Orca ally. The two of them were among the smallest of groups. They were only surpassed by Val, who stood alone and unbothered on the other side of the field. Many of the other groups were watching Sid like a pack of predators eyeing for fresh meat. He jumped as he felt Rainier pat him on the back.
Relax, lad. My master always says that the anticipation for the battle is often worse than the battle itself. Stop overthinking things. Let your adrenaline flow and the instincts take over. Inside each of us is a beast rearing to be free.
Sid scratched his head, his palms sweaty. His palms sweaty! Mama spaghetti! Keep it together. Cole's counting on you. The bardic inspiration in his chest flickered with a comforting warmth. Sid gripped the handle of his shrunken down halberd as he tried to steady his nervous breath. No excuses. He's going to win this! The crowds grew silent. The crowds grew silent as the festival announcer's voice blared across the arena once again. Now that we are finally back on track with the festival schedule, let us now commence with the annual brawling tournament. Fighters, prepare your weaponry. A wave of furious battle cries washed across the field as everyone armed themselves. Sid shuffled closer to Rainier, the hair on his neck standing on end. Because you told me to! On your marks. 3, 2, oh, wait a minute. 1. Ah! Huh? Oh, for the love of... What is it now? A shrill, bloody, curdling scream. Mom, what are you doing? A shrill, blood-curdling scream reverberated across the arena. Both the audience and brawlers froze, exchanging bewildered looks.
Yikes! That sounded like someone being flayed alive.
Sid nearly dropped his halberd. Oh, Shorts, I forgot! Has anyone seen my mom? Stop the tournament, we have to...
Absolutely not! Who cares about the O'Shaughnessy? I only just managed to wrangle our schedule back on track. Whoever's dying will just have to deal with it!
All the brawlers looked at each other and shrugged nonchalantly. Wait, you can't be serious! Oh, here we go! Meanwhile, in the secluded area behind the viewing booths, all was quite quiet save for the sound of breathless panic and scrambling footsteps. Ah! Calder crashed through the undergrowth and tumbled onto his face. His heart pounded a mile a minute as he desperately clambered back onto his feet. Words could not describe the terror he felt at this moment. He had to run! Wait, you need to see this! This is so funny! He had to run! Ilya! Come back, dear. I just want to talk. Get away from me, you witch! He's a wizard. He's so scared of a witch. And that's it. That's all. Anyway, where were we? Witch! Be quiet! Deafen! Okay. Anyway, where are we? Oh, yeah, of course. Are you all ready? On your marks. 3, 2, 1. Begin! Chaos immediately ensued as matches of brawlers clashed. Sid yelled as he felt Rainier grab him by the wrist, yanking him away from where the fight was thickest. The air was filled with a choir of sharp metallic shrieks as weapons and fists collided. In the distance, Val looked unbothered as he knocked all his opponents aside like flies. Sid gulped and glanced around his immediate proximity. Larger alliances of brawlers grouped up and quickly overtook smaller teams and stragglers with ease. The festival announcer already began blowing his whistle as organizers dragged out the unconscious brawlers who were immediately knocked out. Sid followed Rainier's lead as the Orca dragged him toward the edge of the arena.
Here's the plan, lad. We're the smallest team in this effing mess, so let's pace ourselves, yeah? Keep your distance and kite your way through the arena as long as possible.
Kite your way. I like that. Now, kite!
The crowd will thin itself out eventually. I'll take care of the heavy hitters and keep you safe.
Sid shot him a frustrated frown. You don't need to baby me. Several brawlers suddenly charged behind them, brandishing clubs and swords. He scarcely had time to react before Rainier shoved him aside.
Get down!
Whoosh! 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 The Orca's twin short swords. Oh, that thing is pointing at me. The Orca's twin short swords gleam in the harsh sun. To call Rainier fast will be an understatement. Where did you go? Black and white blur shot forward as he bashed the hilt of his blade into the throat of one attacker while kicking another brawler square in the chest. Both assailants fell to the ground, clutching their injuries with rag gas. Rainier puffed up his chest with pride.
And that's how it's done, lad.
You've got nothing to worry about. Midway through speaking, another pair of brawlers leap on him from behind, clubs raised. Rainier managed to sidestep the first blow, but the second managed to clobber the Orca in the back. He fell to the ground and let out a pain groan. Gah! By the time he looked up, both his attackers were already swinging down on his prone body. Oh, yeah! Oh my god! Oh, that halbert's blade almost hit me! The Lanius erupted to its full length with like a speeding bullet, knocking the two brawlers' weapons out of their hands. They scarcely had time to yell in surprise before Sid stepped forward with a second swing. The sheer weight of the Lanius being swung at high speed resulted in an impact like that of a charging rhinoceros. Both brawlers were lifted off their feet and thrown across the field like ragdolls. Their crumpled bodies skid painfully across the grass before slowing to a defeated halt. Sid growled and shot all the other surrounding combatants with a venomous glare. His opponent's eyed his massive halberd warily before slowly retreating. And then they tried to wield it, but they can't! Clearly, they were hoping for easier prey. As soon as the coast was clear, Sid turned back and offered Rainier a helping hand. The Orca stared at him with a strange mixture of surprise and awe.
Well then, you ain't too bad, are you, mate?
Sid scowled, the frustration in his chest bubbling to the surface. My friend trusted me to win this damn tournament, and I'm going to get this done with or without you. You shouldn't have said that. So stop treating me like a goddamn baby. You want me to watch your back or not? Rainier stared for several moments before letting out a soft chuckle. Ooh, someone has a crush.
Yeesh. You're a bit scary when you're angry. Alright, kid. Kinda reminds me of someone I know.
The Orca jumped back onto his feet and readied his twin swords.
Fine. I ain't got time to babysit ya anyway. Come on. We've got some effing money to win.
Rainier flashed a toothy grin before making a mad dash towards the nearest group of opponents. That's more like it. Sid drew his weapon, the adrenaline rush of battle filling his veins as he charged forward alongside Rainier. The next few minutes of the brawl felt like it stretched on for hours. The sweat drenched his brow as Sid knocked aside another gang of fighters, drew strained breath. Luckily, the surging flame of Cole's bardic inspiration helped keep his senses sharp. The fight became a strange dance. Groups of brawlers who would approach Sid in hopes of an easy fight. He would fend them off with the Lanius, its long reach forcing them to keep their distance. As the enemy stumbled back in surprise, Rainier swooped in like a sweeping bullet and knocked them out or disarmed them with swift strikes. Slowly, the crowd of brawlers began to thin as more and more of the defeated were dragged out of the arena. Victory was in sight, but they had much more to go. Ooh, CG! Eventually, the remaining brawlers wised up and decided to surround both Sid and Rainier in a team effort to take down the biggest threat. The two of them pressed back to back as over 20 opponents cornered them near the northern edge of the arena. Cheers and hype shouts erupted from the viewing booths as everyone's attention was focused on the two of them. Sid scanned their situation with a frustrated growl. Besides the massive group surrounding them, the only fighters left was Val, who was finishing off the last of the brawlers at the other end of the arena. If he and Rainier could beat this group, the rest of the tournament was as good as won. The orca swore loudly as the brawlers drew closer and closer. These little effers are too scared to take us on with fair numbers. We've been doing pretty good so far, but I'm not liking our chances here, mate. Sid hated to admit it, but he was right. 2 versus 20 weren't exactly fair numbers, but in League of Legends, if one can do 1 versus 5, then all is effing F. They would have to catch everyone by surprise somehow, and the only thing left off his sleeve was... magic? Sid's grip on the lanyards tightened as he turned towards Rainier. Listen, man, can you do me a favor? We need to bait everyone into charging us quickly all at once. Can you drop to the ground and start groveling like a scared kid?
What? F nah! I ain't crying like a guppy in front of everyone. How am I supposed to impress that hot croc and woo him into a date?
Oh, I'm sure Val will be much more impressed if we get tenderized by 20 clubs instead. Come on, do you want to win that gold or not? Do you want to have sex or not? Take one for the team. Rainier pouted sheepishly.
Fine! This better effing work.
The orca suddenly dropped his sword and swooned to the ground melodramatically. Oh no!
I'm so scared. Please hold me with your big bomb arms, mate.
Okay, maybe don't grope my leg while you're doing this. Despite Rainier's horrible acting, their opponents took the bait. Wow, the barbarians have low intelligence, don't they? At the first sign of weakness, all of them immediately lunged towards Sid and the groveling orca with a triumphant sneers. Sid held steady as they approached. Wait for all of them to get in range. Every last one. Oh my god, this is what Clyde teaching them, huh? This must be Clyde's lesson. Every last one. Now! Ah! The lanius extended to its maximum as Sid swung it in rapid wide arcs. Taken utterly by surprise, all of the opposing brawlers were swept off their feet and flung over the fence. Others were knocked cleanly onto their butts and swept away by a subsequent swing. The crowd looked on in shock as the lanius retracted from its impossibly long length back to its normal halberd form. Under the shocked silence of the audience, Clyde whooped and hollered in utter delight. That's my baby! Sid didn't hear him, nor did he pay any attention to the crowd's astonishment. His mind was focused on solely one objective. He had to win! Taking advantage of everyone's startled state, Sid lunged across the field towards the only fighter that was left. Val. Woo! Woo! Halfway through his leap, Sid plunged the lanius to the ground. The halberd extended to its maximum length once again, launching Sid straight into the air. Sid retracted the lanius with a firm squeeze, leaving himself in free fall. In one swift motion, he twisted himself midair and swung the halberd back down with the assistance of gravity as he fell upon Val down below. Oh! That's a very strong gauntlet! Val managed to block the strike, his knees buckling from the sheer weight of the impact. A sharp crack appeared in his gauntlet. The crocodile grunts from the strain and shoots Sid an intrigued look.
You've improved.
Before Sid could respond, the crocodile kicked him aside. Sid felt the air leave his lungs as he stumbled across the grass. With barely a moment to collect his thoughts, he rolled out of the way of Val's stomping foot and struggled to return to his feet. Sid's mind raced while he backpedaled from Val's onslaught. The crocodile was more experienced and far exceeding him in terms of endurance. They would have to take him out quickly.
Hang on! I gotcha, mate!
Well, sir. Get me that crocodile and orca? But sir, they're having a brawl. And get me that crocodile and orca. But sir, they're fighting. They're hugging each other. I don't care. I will be between them on a chokehold. Sir! Rainier suddenly sprung behind Val and clung into his neck for dear life. He yelled as Val snarled and flailed about wildly in an effort to untangle the orca's grip. Hey, listen, man. Whoa! I just want to be clear. That whole cowering thing earlier was just an act. It was the lad's idea. I ain't no crying damsel even on my worst days. Get off! Yeah, sure. But I know you've got the hots for tough. But I know you got the hots for tough guys, so I didn't want any misconceptions too. Really now, Rainier? While the two of them wrestled and twisted about in a mess of limbs, Sid charged forward. He shrunk the Lanius back down to its short axe form before planting it firmly into the ground at Val's feet. Sorry, Val. This technically isn't against the rules, so... The Lanius instantly erupted to its full maximum length again, its blade hook into the leather strap Val was wearing, and then continued extending at full speed. Oh my god! Did he just shoot Val right out of the freaking arena using the extension of the halberd by shooting him, like, pushed him to the sky? Val let out an indignant yell as he was yanked into the air and dragged past the fences surrounding the arena. The festival announcer blew his whistle sharply. Out of bounds! This contender is now disqualified! But it's now Rainier versus Val. Val groaned and struggled back onto his feet with a glare. He watched as the ridiculous length of the Lanius retreated from where it pierced his harness and returned to its normal size in Sid's hands. That was a dirty trick, boy. Though I must respect the ingenuity. Sid scratched his head sheepishly. Sorry, man. I'll buy you a drink after this. Rainier elbowed him with a look of utter betrayal. Dude! That was supposed to be my date! I mean, go ahead. You can buy as many drinks as you want. We're the only fighters left in the tournament, so we've kinda already won the cash prize. You're welcome, by the way. Rainier blinked and glanced around the field. Huh? Was the hulky crocodile the last one? Sure enough, Sid and Rainier were the only ones left standing in the arena. Don't tell me that both of them needs to fight. The rest of the brawlers were either hunched over on the ground or being dragged off by the festival staff. I guess this is mission complete, huh? Rainier flashed a toothy grin and drew his twin swords, of course. Nah, mate. Glad the money issue is sorted out, but its crowd is still crying for a winner. Cheers and hollers echoed across the arena. Shouts of support for both Sid and Rainier clashed as loud chants of "Fight! Fight! Fight!" filled the air. Sid smiled with a tiny hint of pride as he crouched into position with Lanius in hand. I guess we'll have to give them a good show. Aye. I'm surprised how good of a fighter you turned out to be. That feral battle drunk look on your face is so different from your usual cute stuttering. Kinda hot. By the way, my crew is looking for new hires if you're still interested. Oh, hey! Please! Handle your halberd with care! You almost hit me there! I don't know. Think you can afford me? What? Rainier barked out a laugh. The snark! I like it! Show me what you've got, mate! The crowd roared with excitement as the orca dashed towards him. The fight began anew, and after that, the freaking wizard appeared. Sid flinched. Okay. Sid flinched. Rainier was fast, almost like he was swimming across the land. Ooh, howdy ho! In a blur, the orca was suddenly upon him, short swords clashing against the halberd. Sid quickly realized Rainier was keeping a close distance so he would have no room to extend the lanius. The halbert's long lead was useless if he was too busy defending himself with the handle. If he shrunk down into an axe, he'll be easily parried and counterattacked by Rainier's twin swords. Sid yelped as the Orca landed several telling blows on him. He was on the defensive, but every time he tried to make space, Rainier pressed close to him off balance. Sid's heart was beating rapidly with adrenaline and pulses of bardic inspiration. How long does bardic inspiration last? It was an unrelenting joy to be swept in the flow of battle. Far from being irritated, Sid was utterly thrilled. He retracted his weapon and aimed a kick at Rainier. Okay, but swiftly dodged to the side. Sid re-extended the lanius and swung it at full length, but missed wildly.
Ha! Is that all you got, mate? Eh?
Rainier stumbled back in surprise at a scrap of blue cloth hanging from the lanius drape across his face, obscuring his view. As he flailed backwards, Sid struck a solid punch to his stomach. All the air rushed out of Rainier's lunges as he fell to the ground. Even then, he lashed out with his sword in a last-ditch attempt to strike back. The tip of his blade narrowly missed Sid's face and knocked the badger's glass into the air. Now he can't see! Sid snarled and leaped onto the Orca, pinning him down with his knees. Rainier gasped for breath as he looked up at the badger's dark silhouette that towered over him against the bright blue sky. His eyes widened. Time seemed to slow as he took in the sight of Sid's furious face above him. I knew you would remind me of someone. It's been a long time since I've seen that face. Mel's the beast. What have you done? The realization had barely fluttered through Rainier's mind before Sid brought his halberd down upon him. Ka-thunk! The blade planted onto the ground inches above his head. Rainier blinked. A shrill cry of the festival horn blasted through the air as the crowds went wild. And there we have it! The winner of this year's Firefly Brawl! Loud cheers and applause filled the stadium. Sid stumbled off of Rainier's chest and scrambled to find his glasses in the grass. As the two of them collected themselves, Sid shot him a baffled look. Why did you let me win? You could have thrown me off and rolled away easily. Still in a daze, Rainier stared at the badger's face blankly. He looked so different when wearing those goofy glasses. All traces of that feral savagery was gone as Sid pouted at him indignantly. Rainier shook his head to clear his thoughts. Nah, mate. I just got distracted. You won this fight. Fair and square. They were interrupted again by the festival announcer's shrill voice. Congratulations to Sir Sid Shrikewood! Please head up to the view tower to claim your winnings. I have this feeling. I think I knew it from chapter 2 that he is from chapter 1 he is Kwangija. He's the son of a brawler, of a barbarian Gija mismo before, but he was less lost or something. Before you do so, however, do you have any parting words for your adoring crowd? The entirety of the arena filled with jubilant cheers and everyone watched him expectantly. Sid suddenly jumped to his feet. Wait! This is what I was waiting for! Okay! And he ran to it. He made a bad dash towards the audience and grabbed a very surprised Clyde, like, huh? Before dragging him to the center of the arena. Hey man, what do you think you're doing? Sid unsheathed the lanius and planted it triumphantly onto the ground. There needs to be a CG! The masterwork weapon's blue cloth sailed into the wind like a proud flag of victory. At the same time, Sid held Clyde's hand, despite his flustered protests, and raised it high in the air. Ladies and gentlemen of the Firefly Festival, I humbly thank you all for your support. However, I am but an ordinary adventurer who is unworthy of such praise. I wouldn't have stood a chance if it weren't for this masterwork weapon made by the honored blacksmith Clyde. Clyde's eyes widen into dinner plate like... His cheeks flustered red as he hid sheepishly behind Sid against a curious crowd. I am sure you have all seen firsthand the quality and craftsmanship of Sir Basimir's creations. My good friend is trying to restart his blacksmithing career, so give him a gander at Soul's arcane workshop in the Market District if you're interested in quality works. Honey, darling, sweetie. I guarantee you will find no greater blacksmith in the entirety of Axia. The crowd whispered to each other with interest as a small round of applause filled the area. A few of the nobles in the viewing tower gave both Clyde and Lanius intrigued looks like, ah, I want that fighter! But sir, he's too big for you. That's why I want him inside me. I want that fighter! Sid felt Clyde grip his hand tightly. He glanced over to see the tiger's face overwhelmed with emotion. The blacksmith's shoulders shook as he took in the crowd's approving smiles, tears welling up at the edge of his eyes. For the first time in forever, there was a glimmer of hope in the tiger's voice. Thank you. I don't know what to say. Sid smiled and patted his friend gently on the back. Don't thank me. Cole was the one who set this all up. Clyde blinked in surprise as he wiped the tears from his eyes. Did he now? He always was a sly little brat. Sid grinned, his chest flustered with warmth and pride alongside the remains of Cole's bardic inspiration, like a roaring flame. To be trusted with such an important and personal task. Sid made a mental note to thank the little guy later. The festivities were slowly dying down as Sid and Rainier collected their winnings from House Osmia. As agreed, the two of them split the cash prize evenly. Rainier had clutched his half of earnings with glee and quickly ran across the crowd towards a certain crocodile in the distance. I still owe you a drink too, lad, the orca yelled from before leaving. Come join us at the bottomless pit at Rotten Red's Alley tonight if you're free. There should still be plenty of fun and celebration to go around. Sid had politely declined, though a part of him was at least a little curious about the city's most infamous gay bar. He quietly made his way back to his viewing booth. The instant he stepped inside, Sid was instantly swarmed by his parents and a delighted Artemi. So Sid, absolutely stunning performance out there. Look at how much you've grown. I gotta whip up a big dinner tonight to celebrate. Sid's cheeks felt warm as he sheepishly scratched his head. Thanks, guys. Oh, sweetheart, I was so worried. Are you hurt at all? Did anyone say anything mean to you while you were out there? Because I will smack a bitch. Just say the word and I'll give them a firm talking to. Mom, I'm fine. Speaking of which, what did you do earlier? By the way, I've got a very special present for you to commemorate your tournament victory today. A shoe? Oh my god, it's Calder's shoe. Sid watched the utter bewilderment as his mother handed him a single ragged shoe. One boot? It's a boot with a lot of sentimental value. I assure you it took a lot of effort to get my hands on this. Mom? Where's that Calder guy? Suffering. As he should be. Sid squinted between his mother's pleased expression and the single boot in his hand. He let out a deep and tired sigh. Mom, You promised that you'd stop polymorphing my bullies into household objects. Oh my god. Are you telling me it's Calder? Burn the witch! Burn the witch! This little deserves worse! Sid held out the boot with a stern look. Come on, Mom, change him back. Ilya sighed and rubbed her temples. I just don't understand how you grew up to be such a sweet and gentle soul. Isn't there at least a tiny part of you that craves violence? When I was your age, I was beating down hooligans left and right. Kinda. But Cole and Artemi already beat the guy half to death, so I'm good for now. Artemi perked up and raised her hand for an expectant fist bump. I will be happy to perform violence once more, should you require it. No violence! Just change the poor guy back before he decides to file a lawsuit or something. Mom! Ilya plucked the boot out of Sid's hand and tossed it carelessly over her shoulder. For a tiny old lady, she had a very strong throwing arm. Sid watched in horror as the Calder boot sailed over their booth, rolling down the street out of sight. Polymorph lasts for an hour. We can just leave him there and let him ride it out. He'll just be stepped on. Sid gaped, flabbergasted. There was no stopping his mother once she set her mind on something. Here, Mom. Take my 5,000 gold winnings. I'm paying you to never do that again. This is for your troubles, ma'am. No. No, that was for free. Keep your winnings and share them with your friends. You know that no amount of bribery will stop me from tormenting your bullies. No. Mom. Not now, dear. Your father and I have to go back to man our cheesy bread stall. We'll see you back at home tonight. Come on, Renette. I think it's Renee. Sid watched helplessly as his parents fluttered off without listening to a word he said. Your parents are very sweet. Terrifying. The word you're looking for is terrifying. Hey, you can cast dispel magic, right? Can you go free the Calder guy from his boot prison? Artemi scratched her chin for a moment before shaking her head. No. Polymorph is a 4th level spell, while dispel magic is a mere 3rd level. Undoing Mrs. Strikewood's spell will take a great effort on my part. But you can still do it, right? Nope. No, you can't, or no, you don't want to. Either. Yes! No, you can't, or you don't want to. Yes. Sid buried his face into his hands with a groan. There was no use arguing. He's supposed. He scratched his head and held up his sack of gold coins. Well, now that the business is all finished up, do you want to go get more food or visit more festival game stalls? You got some time to kill before Cole comes back. Game stalls sound like an excellent idea. Your valiant efforts in the brawl deserve to be celebrated, and I could use some recreation after my very short joust. Artemi pouted. It's a shame Cole didn't stay to watch either of our tournaments. I had expected more from our so-called team leader. What are you smiling about? Sid chuckled and pressed a hand against his chest. Since the end of the tournament, he has been feeling lighter, like an anxious weight had been taken off his shoulders. Cole's bardic inspiration continued humming with him, like a gentle, comforting flame. Oh, I'm just in a good mood, that's all. You should really cut Cole some slack. He's always keeping an eye out for us, even if we don't realize it. Artemi let out an amused scoff. How strange. Constantly feel like we're the ones keeping an eye on him. It goes both ways, right? It's all part of being a crew. Sid blinked. His fur suddenly stood on end. Does everything feel like super staticky all of a sudden? It's the wizard! The air suddenly cracked and split with the ear-shattering sound of a distant explosion. It was as though a massive bolt of lightning had erupted from the sky and struck a part of the city. The ground shook and people scrambled to cover their ears. In the skiddy skyline, a massive cloud of debris and dust bellowed from a street several blocks away. It looked almost like a bomb had gone off. The air was thick with the smell of dust and burning smoke. Everyone's heads turned as a distressed messenger scrambled through the arena in the direction of the viewing tower. Through ragged breaths, the messenger shouted as loud as his lungs could handle. Trouble! Trouble in the market district! Oh no! Cole is there! Everyone's attention fixed curiously on this panicking messenger, who was desperately screaming of the festival organizer's aid. Mass of people suddenly fainted! Out of nowhere! The streets are literally filled with the crowds of unconscious folk! And worse yet, there seems to be people fighting! What in the world was that? Artemi, you okay? He turned towards his companion, who was staring up with horror. That explosion. I recognize that magic. My magic! It was like someone set off a dozen thunderwaves at once. Oh my god. Agatha? It's been Agatha all along! Sid's eyes widened. He felt his stomach drop. And then, it's Cole! No, it's Cole! He has gone. He has a bit of spells from Artemi! He felt his stomach drop as he took on the sight of the towering smoke in the distance. That's around where Clyde's shop is. Sid suddenly felt his chest grow cold as Cole's bard expression flickered out and extinguished. He and Artemi exchanged terrified looks before bolting in the direction of Soul's arcane curiosities. No, it's Cole. Isn't 1 hour earlier. He's in trouble, man. Market District. Soul's arcane curiosities. Soul, The shopkeeper poked his head through the front door and squinted. Waves of shoppers and tourists swarmed the street, passing by his shop without a second glance. What a relief. Unsurprisingly, a dinky old arcane shop wasn't exactly a hot locale during festival season. Soul flipped up the close sign at his storefront before slinking into the back of the shop where no passerby could catch sight of him.
That ought to keep people out of my way for a while. This is utterly outrageous!
The old man nearly jumped out of the skin as he glared at the grumpy python sunning itself on the counter.
Dude, keep it down. My grievances will be heard. Why are we holed up in this dusty shop? There are festivities to attend and food stalls to sample.
Soul shot a cautious glance at the storefront before letting out a sigh. In the flash of white mist, the old shopkeeper's figure melted away to reveal an extremely irritated Cole. Stop it, Snake. I don't want to listen to you complain for the entire hour that we gotta spend babysitting this place. Malice curled up into an indignant ball and rolled his eyes.
Ah, yes, your asinine plan, where you jump through ridiculous hoops to trick your friends into helping each other. You could have just told them your idea for them to get-go and save yourself the trouble.
Cole scowled, but was interrupted by Malice flipped his head back in a dramatic flourish. Oh wait, no! Maybe I'll just give him Salem's voice from Quan Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh, but wise demon, my friends couldn't possibly trust me to make good decisions for their well-being without an ulterior motive. Nay, impersonating and manipulating them is surely the better option.
The urge to trap the snake under a bowl again was overwhelming. There were a lot of jars lying around the shop. The thick glass would hold noodles, incessant babbling for at least a little while. But it was so tempting. The snake shot Cole an annoyed look. Our minds are linked, you fool. Don't you even dare. What? You can't blame a guy for wanting some peace and quiet. And ignore the truth? Cole grumbled and sank down in his chair. I told you already, nobody trusts me enough to just roll with my ideas. They always think there's a catch. It's easier to just string them along like this. It's worked pretty well so far. Malice frowned. Why do you always believe that people assume the worst of you? That feels like an awfully sad way to live. Sorry. That feels like an awfully sad way to live. Cole stiffened. The words stung more than he'd like to admit. His shoulders went rigid as he fumbled for something to retort with. After a beat, the hyena cleared his throat loudly and reached for a nearby jar. You've got about 10 seconds to change the subject. Wait! No jars! They're horrible. They're horrible for my back pain, especially as the demon slithered off the counter and onto Cole's lap with a thoughtful look. Okay, tell you what. There's something I've been meaning to speak to you about regarding a little demon-host relationship. Cole yawned and unscrewed the jar. Hey, this is another one of your demonic sales pitches. I'm not interested. The python flicked his tongue with excitement. Nay! This is no pitch, my puny mortal. It is an updated terms of service. You don't even have to agree or sign anything. For I have already given you a small portion of my power, free of charge. Let's consider this a free trial of sorts. Cole sat up incredulously. What the hell did you do? I have considered your feedback on my negotiating skills and have decided on a new tactic. Why not give you a taste of my powers with no strings attached, Surely this will entice you into a full contract with me in the future. How does this power work exactly? I don't feel any different. Well, after examining you for the past few days, I've concluded that your magical foundation is wacky as all hell. Your body has absolutely zero offensive abilities. None. But you've also got extraordinary proficiency with sensory spellcasting. You're able to control illusions, trickery, and detection spells well above the skill set of the average bard. The demon's eyes glowed red as he grinned with excitement. And thus, I give you the ability to cast Detect Thoughts and Detect Magic and the Ghostly Gaze. That's offensive spells? And of course, a boost of your illusion abilities too. Ah, great! He became Loki, of course. Cole flicked his wrist experimentally. Sparks of arcane magic danced between his fingers. That's it? No fireballs or anything? It's a free... It's a free trial. You get what you paid for. Not that I think it'd make any difference, honestly. Your body is completely incompatible with offensive spellcasting. It's very strange, almost like you're built differently compared to other mortals. Cole sighed and slumped back in his chair. Of course! Our main protagonist is a special something. I'll take what I can get, I guess. At least this ghostly gaze should come in handy. I'm still intrigued about how you describe that knight, Commander. Always had a thing for bears. The shop door suddenly swung open, and then, whoops! Cole and Malice immediately dove behind the counter in mutual panic. Nobody was supposed to come in here. Cole cleared his throat and gave his best impression of an old man's voice. Sorry, bud, but we're clothed. Did you see the sign? The visitor did not answer. There was a pause before the front door was slammed. That was slammed closed? Clyde! Clyde! Up to your old tricks again, I see. Cole felt his blood run cold. Slowly, he stood up from behind the counter to find himself face to face with the venomous Clyde. Hey, buddy. Aren't you supposed to be at the tournament right now? The tiger's sharp gaze pierced through him like a knife. You're not as clever as you think, huh? And I refuse to fall for one of your schemes. That's not... Look, I can't explain. I don't want to hear it. Every time I lend you the tiniest ounce of trust, you always manage to stab me in the back somehow. Like a few days ago, where you cast Charm Person on me while I had my guard down. What? You weren't supposed to remember. Oh.
But I did. The tiger growled. I've been giving you the benefit of the doubt for too long, Kolodi Bonebreaker. You're like poison, ruining lives wherever you go. And I need you gone.
Oh, new sprite. Hello. I'm sorry, Clyde. I really am. I just wanted to make it up to you somehow. Cole's chest lurched painfully as Clyde stepped closer. His cold eyes peered down at him with disgust.
Wait, is this Clyde? No, it can't be. It can't be Clyde. Because Clyde can't be that heartless. Because he was so thankful during the tournament. This is not Clyde. Because Clyde is in the tournament.
His cold eyes peered down at him with disgust. A heavy silence hung in the air before the tiger let out a tired sigh.
I didn't want it to come to this either, Cole. But I think it'd be best if we parted ways. For both our sakes.
Cole hung his head low. Yeah.
Wait! Use your your dark spells!
I know. Clyde paused before taking a breath.
Listen, if you really want to make it up to me, I have a small favor to ask.
Cole's chest felt heavy as he stared down at the cold floor. Anything you need, just ask.
Ah, of course it's not Clyde.
I know you stole one of the rubies during that tussle at the fighting ring. I want it back.
Cole's eyes widened.
The ruby?
Even one of those rubies would sell for a fortune. I could use that to rebuild my future. Maybe even use the money to negotiate with the blacksmithing guild.
Clyde gave him a look of pained desperation.
Yep, that's not Clyde.
Can you do that for me? Just one favor. That's all I ask.
Cole grew quiet. His friend's face was a pained mix of defeat and desperate hopefulness. If all he needed was one more favor, how could he possibly deny him?
What?
Cole hesitated for a moment before slowly reaching down towards Malice, hiding behind the counter. The demon's voice suddenly echoed through their mind link with utter disbelief.
You can't possibly be serious.
Just turn back into a ruby, Malice.
You'd give me up to someone else just like that? I won't accept this. You're my puny mortal, damn it. I refuse to be passed on to someone else.
Come on, Malice. For me. For a moment, he could feel the tiny snake tremble in his grip. Clyde suddenly spoke up, startling the two out of their exchange.
What's the matter? You having second thoughts?
No, I was just rummaging through my pockets. One moment.
This is not Clyde. Because the last we saw Clyde, he was happy. Who is this?
There was a small moment of hesitation between the two of them.
I think it's the wizard. He disguised himself.
Cole's heart sank as he felt Malice silently curled up and transform into a cold gem in his grasp. He lifted his hand over the counter to reveal a dark, blood-red ruby. Clyde stared at it with a mix of fascination and suspicion. The tiger cautiously reached for it.
I appreciate it, Coleslaw.
Wait a minute.
Just hope you're not trying to pull one of your illusion switcheroos like you did back at the fighting ring.
I'm not. I sincerely want to help you. Cole suddenly froze. Wait a minute. He took a step back and...
Yep, he caught wind of it.
He took a step back and glared, clutching the ruby close to his chest. Now, he gave himself away when he said, if you do the little switcheroo.
Clyde never knows that.
Clyde looked taken aback before letting out a low growl.
What are you up to?
I've got a better question. Who are you? In a split moment, despite the tiger's attempt to hide it, his face betrayed the smallest hint of surprise and guilt. That was all the confirmation Cole needed. I knew something fell off. Well, how do you know about my little illusion switcheroos? The real Clyde was unconscious in his office the first time I used that trick in the fighting ring, and during the second time, he was busy wrestling Sid in the hallways. His only exposure to my magic was a charm person that you supposedly remember.
The tiger began clumsily stumbling over his words as he tried to regain his footing.
The other folks in the fighting ring told me about it.
They were all being mind controlled with no memory of the event.
But your paladin friend sure wasn't.
Now you'd expect me to believe that Artemi spilled my secrets? That's a real stretch. Out with it, a-hole! Who are you?
Clyde's alarmed expression. I knew it wasn't Clyde from the get-go. I knew it because there is no way that this is our Clyde. Because the way he just gone like... Because Clyde's really want to make peace with Cole, not push him away again. Clyde's alarmed expression suddenly melted away into a look of amusement. All the tension dropped from his body language as the tiger laughed loudly. Whoops. My bad, I suppose. I'm a bit out of practice, he smirked. You ask who I am, little mortal? The tiger's body suddenly melted into a mass of black mist as he continued cackling with glee. The churning mist flickered through a myriad of familiar faces before slowly condensing into what looked like a mirror image. Cole stared in shock as his own face sneered back at him. Things took a stranger turn when a deep woman's voice rumbled from his mirror image's throat. Woman's voice. You are not only the imposter around here, little mortal. I am Zelous the Faceless, an envy demon. Oh. What? Then Malice would have know this person. Pleasure to meet you, Kalodi Bonebreaker. You mind if I borrow your cute little face for a bit? I'd use my own, but I don't have one. The drawbacks of being an envy demon, I suppose. Cole gaped silently at his own smug face. This felt too surreal. The ruby in his grip suddenly poofed back into a furiously hissing python. Malice glared at the imposter with utter annoyance. Zel! Zel! What in the world do you think you're doing? Huh? What is it, that weird worm you got there? Wait, is that Malice? The doppelganger cackled wildly. What is that ridiculous form? Oh my dear baby brother, did you mess up the landing while we traveled to the material plane? I told you to tuck your wings in when we made the jump. Malice spluttered indignantly. I'll have you know that I'm in this form on purpose. Yeah, that's it. Yes, I'm simply blending in with the locals, you see. Zelous squinted at the little snake dubiously. Right. And how much negative emotions have you managed to collect with this little strategy of yours? It's a work in progress. I've taken up our dear brother's approach of quality over quantity. This puny mortal is full of delicious insecurities. I will coax quality emotions out of him yet. Zelous eyed Cole like one might eye slightly moldy food. This one? You haven't even made a pact with him yet, have you? I am a temptation demon, dear sister. My prey requires time and effort to convert of their own free will, unlike your shallow little dalliances. Sure. I'd hate to break it up to you, little brother, but I've come to ruin your little fun. The imposter's expression suddenly turned into a sinister leer. As much as I loathe working with my siblings, my pack partner wants another demon at their disposal. Malice, you're coming with me. Sever your ties to this useless mortal and come along with your big sister. Malice hissed and coiled around Cole's arm possessively. Absolutely not! This one is mine! Zelous wrinkled her nose. Don't get attached to mortals, Malice. You are an infernal demon. Timeless. These mortals wither and die at the drop of a hat. Hardly worth the effort. Speaking of which, The temperature in the shop abruptly dropped into a biting cold, and a sinister glow filled Zelous' eyes as she turned towards Cole. Kaloni Bonebreaker, was it? You are quite lucky. Under most circumstances, I would have just slaughtered you outright and plucked my brother from your cold, dead hands. Alas, my pack partner has taken an interest in you for some reason and asked me to not kill you. Pack partner? You! This one. You know, the one you had a little tussle with a few days ago. Cole watched wide-eyed as the demon reached up to grasp the edge of her hood. Little did you know that their real identity is actually... Boo! Nothing. We know. We know that Shirokoi is not gonna show off the real villain yet. That will give off the tension, the mystery. Ha! You didn't think I'd actually tell you, right? Cole felt sick. The sight of a headless woman cackling wildly was disturbing, to say the least. He could hear the sneer in his voice as she faced him. Anyway, my pack partner doesn't want you dead for whatever reason. However, it's been a while and my hand might accidentally slip. Hand over my little brother and you may walk out of here alive. Resist, and I crushed you into a bloody pulp. Understood? Cole took a step back, eyes darting around the shop for an escape route. Well, Malice and I have this weird mind link thing going on. If you kill me, your little brother's going to die too. Zelous snorted as she put her head back. I was gonna say, as she put her head back up. Zelous snorted as she put her hood back up. What part of being immortal don't you understand? Sure, Malice might end up becoming a puddle of black mush that I have to scrape off the floor, but he'll reform eventually. You, on the other hand, have no such luxury. So what will it be? Cole gulped and gritted his teeth. He silently reached out towards Malice in their mental mind link. She can't be serious, can she? I'm not sure if you've noticed yet, but my sister's a bit of a bitch. I've heard of squabbling siblings, but she's really okay with outright killing you? We are immortals. This is kind of demonic equivalent of a fuzzy mother and sister you change out of your old clothes. Your fleshy, fragile body is just the clothing in this metaphor. Cole took another step back, digging a hand through his pockets. So what you're saying is that if I don't get out of here, I will absolutely die, right? As much as I'd hate to admit it. Even if you form a true pact with me right now, we'd have nowhere near the strength to oppose my sister. I hope you have some clever tricks up your sleeves, puny mortal. Are you too done with your little mental rambling? I'm not a very patient woman. Zelous' sharp voice cut through their exchange like a knife. Her imposing figure approached, the biting cold air of the shop growing more painful with every step. So, what will it be, boys? Will you make the smart decision? Or will I have to scrape you off the floor? Think fast! Ah! Celestial magic! A blinding shockwave knocked Zelous off her feet and tossed her against the shop's walls. The air was thick with the sound of lightning, broken wood, and shattered glass. They just fixed the freaking wall! After a moment, her vision returned along with a harsh ringing in her ears. She snarled and struggled to pick herself off the floor. Then, oh, great. This again. The place was demolished again. Zelous lifted her head up just in time to catch Cole leaping through the wreckage and escaping through the hole in the wall. She snarled and flicked her wrist in his direction. Dark magic! Slender flash of arcane light erupted from her hand and struck the hyena on the back of the neck as he darted down the street. Cole stumbled for a moment, a hand grasping painfully at the spot where he was hit. After a beat, the hyena regained its footing and continued his mad dash to safety. Zelous watched her prey disappear into the busy crowd with an amused sneer. It's been so long since I had a good hunt in the material plane. Run, little mortal. Make this fun for me, won't you? Run, run, but I will find you. The back of his neck was a mass of searing pain as Cole scrambled down the street. He pressed a hand against it gingerly. It hurt, but it didn't feel like it's broke skin or it was too serious. Cole shook his head and dove into the nearest crowd he could find. Maybe a passing adventurer or city watch could get him to safety. Or at least help fend off the demon chasing him. He opened his mouth to beg for help. But no sound came out. The coppery taste of blood suddenly gurgled up from the back of his throat. The people surrounding him in the crowd were too busy with their own festival activities to notice his plight. He coughed and rasped, trying to at least catch someone's attention with a shout, but couldn't muster out a single word. Was this some sort of silencing spell? Cole swallowed and panting breathlessly. The demon was trying to prevent him from getting help. Well, if yelling to the crowd wasn't an option. He glanced around and ran towards the nearest arcane tower on the street. Pressing his hand against the cold crystal, he surged his magic to try and trigger the alarm spell. Huh? No response? He tried smacking the crystal instead, but no luck. So much for state-of-the-art security. Cole felt malice writhed uncomfortably in his pocket, clearly trying to deal with the pain he felt through their mind link. I can smell the stink of my sister's magic in the crystal. I think she's tampered with it somehow. You better be careful, puny mortal. There's something weird about that spell that she hit you. Cole glanced around the jam-packed street and towards Soul's shop in the distance. This was the nearest crystal to the shop, but no alarms were set off from this little explosion with Artemi's Thunderwave crystal. She must have disabled most of the nearby security before coming to find me. Cole growled and pushed his way further down the street. Fine then, she couldn't have trampled with all of them. Let's try the crystal setup further away. Oh no! In a very lonely alleyway too. In this thick crowd, he had no idea if Zelous was pursuing him, but he'd best put some distance between himself and the shop. Even if she was a demon, she wouldn't dare start a fight in the middle of this crowded place. The tournament arena was just a short walk away. He should try to reunite with Artemi and Sid, or hopefully run into a church knight or a city watch on his way there. Ah! His left shoulder suddenly exploded in a burst of white-hot pain with arcane spear. Cole felt his vision blurred as a spray of warmth spilled down his arm. Well, that's what you get for wearing this. His mouth was agape in an agonizing scream, but no sound came out. He sucked in a deep breath and pressed a hand against a raw wound. It burned. Was this an acid arrow? He didn't see where it came from, but to think the demon landed such a clean shot in this crowd. Cole let out the loudest rasp he could manage and grabbed the hem of a passing merchant. Please, some help. Anyone! The merchant took one look at him, scowled and kicked loose from Cole's trembling grip. Get lost, kid! I ain't got time for drunks at this hour! Cole grasped in shock. The other people in the crowd were actively avoiding eye contact with him. When he tried to plead for help or pull on their sleeves, he was quickly shaken off. What in the world was happening? He was bleeding out in the middle of the street here. Cole felt malice poke his head out from his pockets. The side of the little snake's head was covered in blood. There was a small hole near his shoulder, where he too sported a similar wound to Cole. My sister specializes in... my sister specializes in illusions, just like you. And she loves playing with her food. I think she must have hit you with some sort of illusory spell that disguises you from everyone here. These people probably see you as another lowly drunk hooligan at this festival. Cole's eyes widened, so nobody could see his wounds or notice that he's being shut down. Dread slowly set in as Cole realized he was completely alone in this crowd. There was no help. Ah! He scarcely had time to register the flash of green out the corner of his eye before another acid arrow rocketed out of the sky and shot through his left thigh. Cole let out a silent scream. It's on his freaking knee and thigh! The gaping wound as his leg gave out from under him. His head felt hot, his senses growing a feverish haze from the pain. Through gritted teeth, Cole dragged himself around the street corner before collapsing to a panting heap. There was sweat soaked Cole's brow as he kept an eye behind him. He needed to keep his cool and figure a way out of his mess. My sister is a spell sniper. Hiding behind cover won't do you much good. She can strike you down through this crowd while standing in the other end of the street if she wanted to. A frustrated hiss escaped Cole's bloody throat. Great! That would have been helpful to hear 5 minutes ago, donkey! Got any more nuggets of wisdom for me? Preferably something that'll help us get out of this mess? Well, Zelous is... Zelous is probably hiding nearby among the crowd in a disguise. She's perfect. She's the perfect shapeshifter and even acquires the memories of whoever she turns into. Little Snake shivered. Zelous liked to watch as she slowly whittles down her prey. Your sister sounds like a butt. Cole squeezed his eyes closed and desperately sorted through his current options. He had an arcane crystal with cure wounds, but only one. It would suck if we spent it now and got absolutely pulverized later. Let's save it for a true critical moment for our final burst of life. Cole opened his mouth and tried to speak, but that silencing spell was still in effect. And here was the other problem. Most of his spells required both a verbal and somatic component in order to be cast. A short verbal incantation, along with a somatic flick of the wrist or snap of the fingers. Being silence has cut off most of his most powerful spellcasting options, even with the new spells Malice provided from him earlier. Only minor illusions, prestidigitation, and this newly ghostly gaze didn't require a verbal component to cast. None of those options could really help him mount on an offensive. Maybe Quan use ghostly gaze. Cole took a deep breath and tried his best to ignore the burning pain of acid from his bleeding wounds. Zelous was hiding in this crowd, sniping him down in this grotesque hunt. He was utterly alone. Hitting for help was not an option. His best chance for survival was to identify Zelous in this crowd, and then land a solid hit to break her concentration on this illusion and silencing spell on him. Then he might actually get the crowd to come to his aid. That's a solid plan. Well, that's a solid plan, my puny mortal! But keep in mind that my sister is nothing like that Calder kid. She won't lose concentration from a simple knock over the head. I know that! Just give me a moment to think. Another acid arrow veered around the corner. Cole threw himself to the side and hissed as it cut a deep gash in his side. He had stayed in one spot for too long. He needed to move. Cole stumbled back out into the street with a heavy limp and scanned the crowd furiously, his skull throbbing with pain. He surged arcane energy into his eyes, his sight sharpening with magical precision. Ghostly gaze! His field of view widened, vision piercing past every object and person in his path. Everything in his vicinity was in his sight, no matter how hidden. But he still couldn't see where his attacker was coming from. Noodle, what kind of worthless spell have you been peddling to me? I told you before! My sister's a near-perfect shapeshifter! Demon's magical abilities are beyond your mortal grasp. I doubt even a detect magic could help you identify her disguise. Oh, great. Out of the thousands of people swarming the street, how was he supposed to figure out who Zelous is disguised as? Unless there was a sudden tug at his waist. Cole whipped around to see a familiar thief attempting to pickpocket him, but getting nothing from the tiny belt around his waist. Damn, I was hoping for an easy score on drunks at this festival. Doesn't look like you got anything, do you? The cat snickered with his usual cocky smile. Emil abruptly frowned. He squinted at Cole, as though attempting to peer through a thick haze. Wait a sec, aren't you one of the folk I stole from a few days ago? You look familiar. Cole stared at the little urchin for several long moments, the gears in his mind slowly turning. Idea! His gaze hardens. Yes, he will do! Meanwhile, across the street, Zelous hummed cheerfully as she skipped down the street, happily taking in the crisp air of the material plane. Oh! Oh. Oh no. Are you kidding me? Really? There was a satisfied beat to her step as she flexed the little feet of her new disguise and body. Her new disguise. What? Oh, mortals. They never suspect the little ones, do they? She had been hoping for a more thrilling hunt, but it appeared Malice's new host was far more fragile than expected. Oh well. At least she could still enjoy the pleasant festival atmosphere. Are you telling me that the villain is Agatha? So it's been Agatha all along? I still don't understand why Malice couldn't just come with me willingly. He's gotten too attached to his little mortal. It was foolish. Mortals burned and faded quicker than insects at the edge of winter. Disposing of his mortal should be as simple as shedding a change of clothes. Why must her little brother be so difficult? It should be a matter of time before his current host expires. Zelous blinked and caught a flash of gold out of the corner of her eye. A young urchin was laughing as he scurried down the street with a massive armful of... Ah! Who would have thought I could snag such a big score today? This is great! Panic spiked as Zelous stumbled backwards. Those crystals looked charged with the same spell. That's a lot of crystals! That blasted a hole through the shop earlier. And Cole was able to keep them in his freaking loincloth. How many? Can I give him an atomic wedgie? And there were enough of them to blow up the entire street. Was Malice mortal willing to use this child as a sacrificial decoy? Ah, fuck! Ow! Whoops! Zelous felt her heart skip a beat as the urchin stumbled. The urchin tripped and fell to the ground, losing his grip as all the crystals clattered across the street. Upon impact, the crystals glow intensified with a harsh metallic hiss. Zelous scrambled for cover with her hands over her head, bracing for the explosion. But there was only silence. She glanced up in confusion. What? My shinies! They all turned into worthless rocks! That little short scammed me. Realization dawned across her face. It was all a ruse. Ah! Cole was immediately upon the disguised demon, clubbing her over the head with his loot. But his mind was raging as he launched itself forward. This child was the only person on the street who reacted to the illusory crystals like the bombs they were disguised as. A part of him felt a tiny flash of guilt for clubbering a kid, but this was a life or death situation. The disguised demon's form immediately dissolved into a mass of black mist as she backpedaled from the impact. Landing on her feet, the mist swiftly reformed from a child. Nice effects! Into the more intimidating figure of the cloaked mage. The demon huffed furiously as she attempted to regain her balance. Oh, you think you're so clever, don't you? Cole didn't give her any time to react before he shoved a fistful of real arcing crystals into the demon's empty hood. She let out a scream as the glowing crystals filled the interior of her hood with a thunderous glow! Oh, he's using the thread that is given to him by Hamish! Cole immediately twisted behind her, his injured left arm flailing limply in the air. He bit down on the wire he wrapped around the demon's hood and yanked as hard as his torn body would follow. Zelous struggled and thrashed wildly in an attempt to throw the hyena off her back, but to no avail. Her hood was sealed shut, with a dozen charged arcane crystals trapped inside her head. Cole felt a flicker of satisfaction as a sizzling glow of lightning grew brighter and brighter. This was payback! Oh! My God! That was impressive! That was monster kill! That was headshot! That was a... Everybody say it now! Big shot! A blinding explosion tore through the air, sending shockwaves blistering through the streets. All of Cole's senses widened out. His world was only the sensation of his broken body skidding across the hard cobblestone like a ragged tumbleweed. Painful ringing filled his ears as he struggled to get a grip on his surroundings. He was still tumbling. People were screaming. Chunks of stone and wood showered the crowds as debris from the explosion rained down. Towers of smoke filled the air and burned his nostrils. Mmm. Cole winced as he landed on his bleeding shoulder, his wound making a splatter of blood across the broken stone. He let out a hoarse scream at the pain and found slight comfort that his voice had returned. Over here! We got an injured kid here! Several shadows passed over him as passerby flocked around the blooded hyena, asking him if he's alright. Looks like the demon's illusion spell finally wore off. Cole barely had the strength to lift his head, only nodding weakly as someone offered him water. Another kind stranger even tore off pieces of cloth to bandage his bleeding wounds. Cole squeezed his eyes shut and finally let himself drop his head back in relief. The fight appeared to be over. Until there were hundreds of people in the street rushing to aid the wounded and investigate what caused the explosion. Not even a demon would be brave enough to pick a fight in such a crowd. City Watch! And the Holy Knights have been called! They should be here with medics pretty soon. How many injured do we have? This hyena kid's got the worst of it. Most other folks only got some mild scratches or were momentarily stunned by the blast. Sweet creator, what in the world happened here? Oh gods, there's someone in the smoke. Were they standing right in the blast? Help us carry them out! Quickly now! Oh no. Cole snapped his head up, his heart skipping a beat. There was no way. Dread slowly crept up his throat as he struggled to focus his blurry vision. Sure enough, the silhouette of a cloaked figure was standing in the billowing smoke of the explosion. Darn, I forgot that she's immortal. She can't die! Despite a few scratches and cuts, it appeared as though the demon was relatively unharmed. She stood deadly still while looking directly in his direction. A spike of fear griped Cole's chest, and he struggled to stand and crawled away, but it was to no use. It was no use! The figure raised her hand. A flood of foul, arcane energy swept through the street like a violent ocean wave. Cole watched in horror as all the people on the street swayed unsteadily on their feet. One by one, each person began collapsing to the ground in a motionless heap. Every single person! The street was quickly transformed into a horrific sight of prone bodies. There was no one left to help him now. Zelous stepped forward, growling quietly as she approached the defenseless hyena. You put up a better fight than I expected, little mortal. But the time for fun is over. Oh, someone's been watching Fate Stay Night. The demon's cloak unfurled as it slowly filled with infernal flames and runes. Now she rose weightlessly, cloak waving like dark wings as she towered above him menacingly. Violet tendrils raked through the air, filling it with a coppery smell of charged arcane energy. Unbearable heat washed across the land as Zelous readied her foul, destructive arcane magic. I've enjoyed a little game, but I'm afraid I've run out of patience. Her voice lost all of its previous cruel and playful tone. Her words rumbled like distant thunder, ageless and absolute like that of a true demon. Hand over my little brother, or I will blast you into a pile of ashes. My host orders be damned. I am Zelous the Faceless, envy demon of the infernal plane, and I shall not be crossed. Whoops. Oh, Malus like, oh, this is too why? Cole's vision was swimming. He could barely stand, his wounded legs swaying in unsteady tremors. He looked up at the blinding light through exhausted, half-lidded eyes. Dread slowly clawed its way through the chest. Malice slithered out and struggled into his shoulders, the snake bleeding from a dozen wounds mirroring his own. He nudged Cole frantically, his gaze bouncing between the fiery glow of his sister and the defeated expression on the hyena's face. What are you waiting? What are you just standing there for, puny mortal? Stand! This is no time to freeze up. The hyena made no effort to move. Malice gulped and nudged him again desperately. Come on! Come on! You're my first mortal! It can't be over so quickly! Do something clever, like you always do! Cole paused for a moment before slowly shaking his head. Yeah.
sorry. I'm out of tricks.
Cole squeezed his eyes shut for one last time. And then... Ooh! Hamish! Cole felt a sharp yank. The infernal beam crashed down only to meet the cold stone of the street. Ha! You missed, Lux! He stared in bewildered shock as the waterfall of infernal light tore through the ground like butter. Like butter. Leaving a deep crevice where he stood moments before. Cole turned his blurry gaze towards his savior, his heart skipping a beat. Hamish leapt through the air and skid a safe distance away, bow drawn, and Cole tucked safely under his arm. The older hyena gently rested Cole down behind the safe cover of a street corner. He scanned over his battered body with concern. "Are you alright?" Cole opened his mouth to answer, but Cole only managed a quietly bloody gurgle. Hamish's eyes widened before narrowing into deadly slits. The older hyena brushed a worried hand over Cole's cheek before standing. "Rest. I'm here." Hamish turned his gaze towards the airborne demon. Is he wearing shoes? Yes, he's wearing shoes! A quiet fury filled his entire being as he tightened his grip on his bow. From high above them, Zelous cackled in mocking amusement. "Has another little mortal come to play? Very well. I hope you prove to be more durable than the last one!" In a flash, Hamish let loose a volley of arrows up at Zelous. She continued to cackle as she danced through the air, dodging every last one. The arrows sailed past her and buried themselves into the surrounding buildings. "Where are you even aiming?" Hamish barely spared her a glance as he took a mad sprint in her direction, his gaze fixed solely on the arrows embedded above. Ooh, arcane arrows! The arrows dug deep into the wood walls in the buildings, their sharp blue arrowheads gleaming in the sun. In a flash, the arrowheads crystallized and bloomed like jagged flowers. Every arrow from Hamish's volley erupted into a shower of glass shards and wires across the street. Zelous swore loudly and took a dive, but it was too late. The piercing rain of blades ripped through her cloak and forced her down from her height advantage. Serrated wires attached to the shards dug into her sides as she struggled to untangle herself as she fell. Oof! Thwack! Before the demon could even touch the ground, Hamish nailed her in the abdomen with a flying kick. The blow landed with such force that the deep sound of impact reverberated painfully through the street. Zelous let out a guttural hiss, her form shimmering slightly in a layer of black mist as she struggled to keep her current form intact. Hamish's eyes narrowed. Even in this split-second moment mid-air, he growled with unsatisfied fury. Not yet. Not nearly enough. The lavender hue in his eyes suddenly sharpened like glowing embers. Huh? Bang! But he has boots of bang? What is going on? It was as though a cannon had gone off. The air rippled as the sheer force of the kick sent the demon flying like a ragdoll across the street. The recoil was enough to rocket Hamish backwards at breakneck speeds. Hamish landed gracefully on his feet with hands outstretched. His body was sent skidding across the cobblestone street from the force of impact. He tightened his grip on his trap wires, pulling them back as he rode out the inertia of his fall. Sound and dirt scattered into the air as he flew backwards, his wires growing dangerously taut in his grip. At the other end of the street, Zelous' flying body halted immediately as hundreds of wires snapped shut around her. She hissed and tried to squirm, but the wires were too tight to budge, not even an inch. The serrated edges of the wire dug deeper and deeper into her trapped form as Hamish pulled them ever tighter. Tighter and tighter. Oh, everyone needs to see this, because you deserve to see the death of one of the demons. Zelous snarled and screamed, struggling fruitlessly against her restraint, but there was no escape. Black red mist belched from her cuts like billowing clouds of blood. But that doesn't make any sense. Why can't she just shape into a snake? Diba? Hamish's eyes were steadily with cold and clinical wraith as he continued to pull. Or maybe she could just shape into, oh, I don't know, like a bird, a butterfly, or a mist. Tighter and tighter. Ooh. The demon let out one last blood-curdling scream as the serrated wires finally cut through. Her body scattered in all directions. Pieces of flesh and solid black mist fell to the cold cobblestone floor in sickening splatters. And then it was over. The remains of the demon sat motionless on the ground, devoid of life. Hamish approached the scattered flesh slowly, as though expecting them to retaliate in some way. After several minutes of nothing, he finally lowered his bow with a sigh. Hamish quietly holstered his weapons and turned his gaze behind him. Now that the fight finally settled down, Cole cautiously poked his head out from his hiding spot. He quietly limped towards Hamish with an awkward look. Hey, stop moving. You're worsening your wounds. Sorry. Stop moving. You're worsening your wounds. Sit down and rest while I get a medic. Even in his ragged state, Cole scoffed and resisted the urge to retort Hamish's bossy tone. He thought against it in the end. He barely had the voice to argue after all. Cole cleared his throat again and attempted to swallow down the coppery bile obstructing his voice. Hey, Hamish? Hmm? Thanks. The older Hamish face softened. He averted his gaze sheepishly, feeling equally awkward in a moment. Of course. Anytime. The two of them suddenly gave a startled jump. Black mist erupted. Aha! Black mist erupted from Zelous' dismembered flesh and filled the area in a dense, dark fog. What the? Hamish and Cole were enveloped in an impenetrable cloud of black. Cole coughed and waved his hand vigorously to fan the air, but to no avail. It was so dark that he could scarcely see his own hand. What is happening? Shouldn't that demon be dead? A shrill yet diminished voice rumbled through the mist. You are such simple creatures. Do I have to remind you the meaning of the word immortal? Then all of a sudden someone has a vacuum cleaner! Where's Luigi when you need him? Oh wait, he's over there. But color me impressed. I have not been discorporated by mortals in at least 2 or 3 centuries. Oh, my little malice. Perhaps you have chosen your host better than I had first thought. You've made this job rather fun. Cole felt that the little snake rustled slightly in his pocket, but he didn't have the strength to speak up. Hamish's stern voice suddenly cut through the stern mist. What do you want? We've killed you once already. Leave, or I'll do it again. Zelous' laugh shimmered through the dense fog. Oh, I like the grit in this one. Tell you what, let's play one more little game. Win, and I might give you mortals a few days apiece. As a treat? As a treat. In the gust of swirling wind, the black mist faded away. Envy siya, diba? That doesn't feel like envy. Cole coughed and blinked against the sudden brightness. Huh? Oh, this is bull honky. Oh no, not this! Standing before him were 2 identical Hamishes, both wearing the same look of confusion. The 2 glared suspiciously at each other before turning to look towards Cole. Interesting. I suppose this is the game that she was talking about. The other Hamish crossed his arms and gazed towards Cole patiently. Stay calm, Cole. I trust your judgment. That was a very Hamish thing to say, Cole supposed. He gritted his teeth and glared at the identical figures anxiously. Are we doing the if someone would lie thing or some he said she said thing again? It's the same thing that happened in Powerpuff Girls, in Samurai Jack. His injuries were taking their toll. It was hard to focus due to their burning pain from his raw wounds and rattled body. Cole trained his blurry vision on the two older hyenas. Both were very calm, with a tingle of stern energy as they waited for him. Tell me something that only the real Hamish would know. One time you tried to pick up Maro's axe, but you couldn't even budge it. Then you kicked it and fractured one of your toes. You made the whole guild tell everyone that you got the injury from a very tough battle. You're definitely an a-hole like the real Hamish. He turned towards the other hyena. What about you? You've neglected your guild chores for exactly 22 weeks. That includes cleaning the supply closets, many of which were your own messes, restocking the pantry and wiping down the tavern counter. You forgot that Zelous can even get the memories, right? You're very good about keeping the library organized, though. Cole grumbled. That's some very accurate nagging. Cole scratched his chin thoughtfully before taking a step back. Aha! He's trying this then! His eyes suddenly lit up as arcane energy flooded his sight. Both ghostly gaze and detect magic filled his vision as he scanned over the two hyenas carefully. Cole scowled with frustration. Physically, they both appeared completely identical, down to the finest hair on their body. He also couldn't detect any infernal magic on either of them. There was a suspicious wisp of nature magic hovering over both of their legs, but they were identical all the same. Malice mentioned this earlier, didn't he? His sister was a perfect shapeshifter, copying both body and memories to the finest detail. Though not every detail. Cole's eyes widened as he turned his gaze towards the pockets lining the two Hamish's cloak. He cautiously plucked a sharp stone off the floor and tossed it towards the first Hamish. The moment the stone made contact, that Hamish burst into a cloud of black mist when amused. Wait, what? What did he do? Cole's eyes widened as he turned the gaze towards the pockets. Cole's eyes widened as he turned his gaze towards the pockets lining the two Hamish's cloak. Okay. He cautiously plucked a sharp stone off the floor. It's the arcane crystals. The moment the stone made contact, that Hamish burst into a cloud of mist with an amused cackle. The mist swirled into the air like a flock of angry bats, hovering far above their heads. Not bad! Not bad at all! Mortals never cease to be entertaining. Well, a deal's a deal. I will be seeing you around, little ones. With that, the cloud rose skyward in ribbons of black mist and disappeared. Cole and the apparently real Hamish both let out a sigh of relief. I mean, he already mentions it earlier. Oh, so this is the game they were talking about. So Hamish number 1 already got the correct answer. Well done, Cole. How did you figure it out? Cole let out a quiet grumble before staggering towards Hamish. He stuffed a hand deep into the older hyena's cloak and pulled out a small stack of parchment. Scrawled across each page in neat handwriting were Ilia's homemade recipes, along with a small note that read, "Come by for tea sometime." Cole glanced up to see Hamish scratch his head sheepishly. You know, your cooking's actually not half bad. I just like to complain. Hamish cracked a soft smile. Thanks. But I know when you're lying. Cole snorted indignantly. I'm just trying to be nice for once, donkey. Blood suddenly gurgles from his throat. Cole hastily patted down his belt for his cure wounds crystal, but his strength finally failed him. His vision blurred before quickly blacking out, his legs giving way below him. As he fell, the last thing he saw was Hamish's weird face as he rushed in to catch him. No! No! Not this to be continued! No! No! Oh, my eyes. Hello, I'm Shirokoi, artist and writer for this visual novel. Thank you for playing the Ballad. I hope you like it so far. If you're feeling generous and would like to help me create more, blah blah blah, please feel free to come to Patreon. It really helps me out as an artist and helps me to continue creating content for this visual novel for free. Patreon supporters also receive new updates a month in advance. Click here at my Patreon. My social medias include Twitter and Furry Affinity, and apparently he has an AD account. Yay! If you're interested in my other works, try out my other gay furry visual novel. Repeat. But you stop making it. Thanks again for playing. Such pain. I have never felt such pain before. I could never fathom that I would see the to be continued again from the freaky text box. Sid finally did his promise for Clyde. And now, even though Rainier wants Val's big, big Pringus, but Sid finally did the part of his bargain. He won the tournament. He was able to fulfill his promise to Clyde. And he figured out that all of this happened because of Cole. So from day one, without Cole, Sid's life will be boring. And the realization that Sid may be the son or is the reincarnation of the mad warrior, I think. But yes, the shop is broken again on day 3. It was fixed on day 2, now it's broken again. I don't know why, but that shop will be like the inevitable place to be destroyed. It's like the new one. It's like the new cabbage seller. My cabbages, my arcane shop. This is what I like about one of Shiro's writing. It's very anime, and it gives a bit of kambala, bit of thought and hope bala. Like music like this really brought up the story on the part where they say something sentimental. No, I'm not gonna play Violet Memoir. It sucks. It's so boring. I'm sorry, Wolfie. Let's get struck by lightning. But seriously though, I love reading Temptation's Ballad. I want to know what happens next. Though it's a bit sad that Artemi gets the short end of the stick, because apparently her side story finished on day 1 and 2, whereas this is day 3. Day 3 is Sid's side story, gidya. This was Sid's story, kumbaga. This was his moment to shine, that yes, Artemi is a great warrior. He was able to impress Marrow Bonebreaker. But then Sid, this hulking behemoth of a man, was able to be applauded by nobles, by his fellow men, by people who he doesn't know. Even Val, the guy who he fought despite of fighting dirty, really sees potential in Sid. Like, even in battles, you have to do everything to win. That's what Marrow Bonebreaker said. There is no point to wait and to take a break while your enemy is trying to destroy you. I also love that Clyde, with his southern accent, is happy that Cole was able to help him in his own little way, despite of the things he did before. Yes, he may have stolen those things, those things needed to create those weapons. But looking at what happens in the story, Clyde is happy. For the first time in his life, he's finally happy. 2 of his weapons were finally being used by 2 strong men. One is Sid, and one is Marrow Bonebreaker. Marrow Bonebreaker got the Dispelling Magic Axe. Sid got the Extending Halberd. To be honest, I really want Clyde and Cole to kiss. But for sure, Shiro really wants Sid and Cole to be together. You can tell that sneaky little bastard really wants Cole and Sid to be together, despite Sid having a harem with Rainier, Clyde, and Val. You can tell that even though Sid has small charisma, like 8 or something, but his charm is off the roof, like 20. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you everybody for watching. My name's UkeKooki.